Welcome. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Today we have a guest speaker, Julie Taylor. She's here with her husband, Sean, and her daughter. Julie Taylor has been a UU since walking into the Hamburg Church in 1994. She's currently a member of the Buffalo UU Church. There, she volunteers as a worship associate and serves on the personal committee. She's been on the board of trustees, the nominating committee, and has taught religious education. Julie and her husband, Sean, have raised their 3 children in the Buffalo Church. I'm not going to ask you to be on one of our committees. Probably not.
No worries. Committee work is so fun. Thank you for having me here today. So let us enter a space of worship with these words. Come worship with us. Come share a space with us while we listen, while we learn, while we live with love in our hearts. Come find peace in the silence, find joy in the song, find wonder in the words. Let us be together. Let us be here now. Please rise if you're willing and able to light our chalice while we recite the words that are written in your cover. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, Spirit, and serve you, Spirit of freedom. Let's sing. Let's sing hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken.
Lovely, Teresa.
I have to turn that off so that you don't hear me singing too much. I'd like to share with you a reading this morning. And the reading is not the one that's in your order of service, actually from Rising Strong. Maybe some of you have come in contact with some of her work. She's been doing a lot of work with shame research, honestly, and what all that means. But this is from her book, Rising Strong. ourselves out there and love with our whole hearts, we're going to experience heartbreak. If we're going to try new, innovative things, we're going to fall. If we're going to risk caring and engaging, we're going to experience disappointment. It doesn't matter if our hurt is caused by a painful breakup or we're struggling with something smaller, like an offhand comment by a colleague or an argument with an in-law. If we can learn how to feel our way through these experiences and our own stories of struggle, we can write our own brave endings. When we own stories, we avoid being trapped as stories someone else is telling. For her book called Very Greatly, which was a precursor to this, is Theodore Roosevelt's powerful quote from his Man in the Arena speech. It's not words. It is not the critic who or where the could have the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives, who at the best knows in the triumph of my achievement, and who, at the worst, if he falls, at least fails while daring greatly. We come together to create connections. We stay together because of the love and concern we share for each other. I invite anyone to come and share joys and sorrows from their lives.
This is Paul Brundage's. Paul called last night to tell us that he was stolen while he was overnight in Rochester, and it was badly damaged, and they did the thing with the steering wheel. Drove it away. Apparently he found it, but a lot of important things were in it. So he said I could share the information this morning. That's why one more of our people isn't here.
So I just wanted to share that the daffodils that are over there on the piano were ones that my father planted. When I first bought my practice, the first thing he did when I bought the property was go around and plant daffodils around the building, all the trees, all the telephone poles on the property. And so I just wanted to let everybody know those are my dad's daffodils.
So this is not so it may be a slight irritation. So we have this door over there on the side of the building with stairs, and it's being really contrary these days. I think it's due to the weather, and it doesn't want to fully close and lock. So if you feel like kicking something, if you happen to use the door and be here, go straight ahead. Just make sure it locks when you give it a good kick.
And we have one more joy and sorrow from Francie on Zoom. You're muted,
Yeah,
Francie.
thank you. Yeah, I'm going to my daughter's graduation in Michigan, at Wayne State University. She's getting her PhD, and I'm really excited to be there, and so happy for her. Thank you.
Spirit of life and love, our hearts dwell with all who are here and away, with those joining us through Zoom, with those who are unable to be here because of tragedy in their lives, and for those of us who bring joy in the form of a daffodil and remembrance of people in our lives and the things we've done in the past, and for those of us who adore and do things that are out of our emotional needs. In the spirit of love and compassion, we honor all these sorrows, both spoken and unspoken. The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of life is within us. The love is among us. So be it, blessed be. And let the church say in a spirit of compassion,
Amen.
amen. So giving is an essential part of any congregation, and your gifts today are created to continue the good work of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Niagara. I don't really know what your social justice initiatives are, so perhaps give firstly to sustain the congregation and him as well.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to
It's always one of my most favorite hymns, the Spirit of Life. So a coworker came to me recently. She was struggling in her job. She lacked confidence. Every day she was filled with anxiety and apprehension that she was doing something wrong. She questioned the motivations of others, even those who were trying to help her. She would suddenly turn combative. She couldn't take feedback for improvement, and in fact demanded that people shower her with positive feedback even when she messed up. Eventually, she wasn't able to make decisions. She would often look at a situation and come to the wrong decision day after day, week after week. How long could this go on before someone recognized that her performance was lacking? I listened and I heard the pain. I took it in like a sponge, and Even while practicing deep listening, I was still looking for some way to help. So in my job, I coach people to help improve their work performance. In most cases, while diagnosing performance issues, it boils down to 3 questions. Is it will, is it skill, or is it knowledge? Now, knowledge is actually the easiest one to fix because we've got all kinds of resources. You can give a person knowledge and voila, they are back on track. My coworker had the knowledge to do her job. Skill is also fairly straightforward to fix. We can build simulated practice environments, we can role play, we can give people what I call cook time. Now, if you're a soup maker, you know that as the soup has time to simmer, the flavors come together and the final product is abundant with flavor. The same is true with people. When given the right circumstances and time, people will grow and develop themselves. It's terrific to watch. But my coworker had the skill even if she could not demonstrate it at that moment. Now, will is probably the hardest to fix. See, I can't control the will of another person. I can persuade, I can motivate, but I can't force a person to want to make a change. So the key for will is to set the right conditions so that the person comes to the conclusion to make a change. Maybe it's a little underhanded, but it does work sometimes. And my coworker had the will, that's why she came to me. So if it wasn't will, skill, or knowledge, what was it? My realization was terrifying because I had very little ability to help her. It was her soul. This person had a broken soul. Something had happened and her soul had been wounded by something or someone. I'd like to tell you that this is a tale that only happened once, but unfortunately this story happens frequently. And it's not just one person, but many in my lives. Like a friend lost her mother suddenly and needed to re-examine her life, causing her to find a new job 2,000 miles away and start anew. A man felt his beloved wife drifting away after her father died and her mother was suddenly incapacitated. A young mother was struggling with mental and physical illnesses, concerned that she was going to disappoint her family and coworkers. They come to me or I go to them. I see the pain and I listen. And then I do the craziest thing that is so weird is I try to fix their soul, and it's an audacious act. And I mean, who am I? I'm just a girl with no counseling or spiritual background. I'm no fixer. I have no fancy degrees. I have nothing to offer. Not the greatest empathizer. I have few friends and I only share my vulnerabilities when I'm comfortable sharing them, which means I'm not actually being vulnerable at all. So in this case, how do you mend a broken soul? Now, we're Unitarian Universalists. I know some of you are questioning the notion of a soul. Do those things even exist? I mean, it can't be scientifically proven, right? Although, did you know that in like 1901, a guy named Duncan McDougall conducted an experiment and determined when a person died, their soul weighed 20 grams. Granted, it was a super flawed study where all the data was tossed out except for the one person whose soul weighed 21 grams. But still, you know, kudos for him for trying. And as we just have emerged from the high holy days of Christianity, we're reminded that according to Christians, the soul is that part of us that is immortal. It gives us everlasting life. It transcends our body and lifts us to the afterlife, world without end. With that kind of definition, I can see how UUs don't fall completely for the assumption that we all have souls, and I'm definitely not talking about soul in the Christian sense. To me, the soul is simply that which makes us who we are. It's the sum total of all of our experiences or reactions to our experiences and our actions in the world. I don't know if it exists immortally, but I do know that we impact others around us in ways we can never measure and know. And if there is any notion of soul immortality, it would be that our connections live on across time, like those daffodils sitting on the piano right there. I do believe in soul, if only because of the broken soul all around me, inside me. I too have a broken soul in need of healing. So I believe strongly in 4 assumptions. Assumption 1, a broken soul is because we face some sort of adversity in our lives and that was not resolved well. A broken soul must be healed from the inside. Another person cannot heal your broken soul for you. Assumption 3, in order to heal a broken soul, a person must truly understand themselves and what has broken them, which is a very painful process. Which brings me to assumption 4. Most people avoid the work of honest self-reflection because it's much too painful. Let's start with my first assumption about adversity. No one has an easy life. Even people who look like they have everything are suffering somehow. My friend has a beautiful house, a successful and lovely wife, a great career, talented and well-adjusted children. On the outside, all is perfect. But he struggles with an unknown and yet to be diagnosed autoimmune disease that is wreaking havoc on his body. He is in constant pain every day, tries various medications that seem to help slightly but suck his pocketbook dry, and has seen multiple medical professionals, all in vain. Even though everything looks great on the outside, this guy smiles all the time, and you say, how are things going? Things are great. This guy is suffering both physically and in his soul. Why is this happening to him, he thinks? What did he do to deserve this? His spiritual being has to do with how he responds to adversity. He chooses his reactions to his pain. At the same time that he focuses his energies on healing his own wounds, he's also giving of himself to others. He finds time to maintain that connection to that which is good in his life, to the relationships and connections that matter most. His first response to adversity is not to take from others, but to give to them. Easier said than done. I mean, honestly, I don't know how he does it. But when my spirit is broken and battered, I think of him and I think about what I could do to give of myself. And when I do that little bit to help else find their way, it helps my spirit. Now, no way does simply giving broken soul, we all know that. In fact, if this is all we do, and we stop there, our soul can become even more broken than before. Recognizing the role that adversity plays in how we choose our response is only one small step to healing the soul. And if all we do is take that one small step and stop, I will find myself lost in a wilderness, giving away parts of myself in a vain attempt to find healing that will elude me. I must continue on my path of assumptions to find my way out of this wilderness. Assumption 2 says that the broken soul can only be healed from the inside, which means that when my soul is broken, I have to invest the work, the time, the energy, the pain to heal it. No one can do it for me. I can seek help, guidance, mentorship. I can read books. I can go to church. I can find God, whatever that may be. I can connect with nature, but these things are not actually what heals the soul. They help, but ultimately I have the accountability for my own soul. Embracing the role we play in Assumption 2 is the only way to move forward on a path to healing. I started going to church religiously after the passing of my mother. I had a broken soul and I knew it. So I sought healing by sitting in the pews of a Unitarian Universalist church. I was working in a downtown call center in Buffalo. It was horrible. I had to work on Sundays, and so I'd sneak away from work on my lunch break and attend services. Some days I forced myself to doing this, thinking eventually this will help. Eventually going to church will heal my soul. It was All Souls Day. We wrote down the names of a loved one on a card and to be read in the service. I heard my mother's name read by a complete stranger. Healing? Maybe. But I had to get back to work, and I was sneaking out the back when the choir began singing "Shall We Gather by the River," one of my mother's favorite hymns, and it was played and sung at her funeral. I stood in the back of the church, overcome with emotions, my hand on the pew, the usher watching me with great concern and interest. I listened to the whole song before moving, and it was at that moment I understood. It wasn't church that was going to heal my soul. It was me. It was the actions I would take, the responses I chose. I had to be the one who was actively involved in this healing process. God or church or a minister reading my dead mother's name was simply a catalyst, waiting until I took control of my soul. After all, it's my soul. Assumption 3 says that I have to understand myself to confront my own ugly soul before being able to heal it. In the case of my coworker seeking help with her career when she felt it going out of control, I knew I could not help her. I was trying to be a guide for her, but I also knew it wasn't going to work. I knew it wasn't going to work because she had no awareness that there was a rock that she needed to lift and look at all the creepy, crawly bugs and worms of her soul. You know that rock, the one that you lift and you see all those creepy, crawly things. It's not that she lacked the will. She wanted so badly to be better that she would have lifted the rock. She refused to even acknowledge the existence of the rock. I think about that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you know that one. King Arthur solicits the Black Knight to join his quest for the Grail. Remember this one? And the Black Knight says, "None shall pass." And proceeds to battle Arthur, and Arthur cuts off the arm, and the guy says, "'Tis but a flesh wound," and he keeps going, fighting Arthur and everything. Arthur cuts off the other arm. "I've had worse, 'tis but a flesh wound," all that good stuff. And then Arthur cuts off the leg, and then the knight is sitting there, and Arthur cuts off the other leg, and the knight is just sitting there on the ground, and finally he says, "All right, we'll call it a draw." You guys know this one? Come on, reach back to the 70s. It was a good time. Like the Black Knight, My coworker is so completely unaware of her wound. She has no idea. She's sitting in the ground with no arms or legs. She can't move. She's still fighting though, but she doesn't understand that. All is perfect in her life, so how on earth could she even possibly have a broken soul? It must be someone else's fault. At best, she can call it a draw. And remember back to Assumption 2? I can't go and lift that rock with all the creepy crawlies under it and force her to look. She has to look at what's under her rock, and since it doesn't exist, the rock will never be lifted. She will never understand the root cause of her performance problems is a broken soul, and she will continue her life journey feeling that people are out to get her and that the world is somehow against her. And then there's Assumption 4. Most people avoid the work of self-reflection because it's too painful. I mean, who wants to willingly take an action that they know will result in severe pain? I look to my own life. I've walked a mile. I know overwhelming grief. I've lived oppressive depression. I've drifted apart from people I love more than I love myself. Man, I don't just have rocks. I got boulders. I got glacial erratics deposited around my life filled with creepy crawlies underneath them. Moving one of those boulders is hard. And I find myself saying, I'm not ready to move this boulder now. But the thing about not moving the boulder is that it just gets harder and heavier the longer you wait. And my broken soul is waiting for me to heal it. When you're ready to move the boulder, that's the time for seeking the guides and the mentors. That's the best time for healing power of the spiritual, whether it's church, whether it's whatever type of entity that you may consider a god, or whether it's the healing power of nature. I walked by the falls this morning. Oh my goodness, how healing was that? Lifting the boulders, there's that connection with the others in our lives, because the other folks who are on the healing journey are reaching out to help others. Too often, we try to heal the broken soul before we're ready to acknowledge what was truly broken within us. And to acknowledge the broken, we have to know ourselves. We have to be in touch with what's out of whack. Are you getting enough sleep, or are you running that brain race at 3 a.m.? Are you eating right, or is that box of heavenly hash your best friend? Are your relationships nurturing to you, or are they taking away from you? Do you feel connected to something outside yourself? I'm on a journey now where I'm understanding what my fears are that are causing me to run the futile brain race when I should be sleeping. I know my stress and my commitments drive me like a moth to the flame to all the wrong foods. I know that when I'm feeling out of balance, I need to choose my companionship better. And I also know that sometimes I must sit with my broken and painful soul until I'm ready to heal. And honestly, that's what gives me hope for others in healing their souls. It's okay to sit with the pain. It's okay for my coworker to stumble on her journey until she's ready to lift her own heavy rocks. So let me tell you one last story of hope. Years ago, I met a woman who had suffered unspeakable atrocities of abuse as a child. To cope with it, she created multiple personalities. When she told me this, I remember saying to her that that was a sign of strength. It was what she did to survive at that time. But now she needed to reintegrate her personalities. And with the help of several professionals, she did the hard and painful work of knowing herself, all of herself. Just jaw-dropping to think about how to do that. She was ready to become one. And I know that we all can heal because I see it all around. I see friends and loved ones spending time with their broken selves, knowing the broken and starting the healing. So whatever step of the healing journey you are on, you are not alone. Your companions are everywhere. So come, let's sing. Let's sing in home. You have the words.
Sorry.
I've been sailing all my life
I believe Erica has some announcements.
I don't know if I have any announcements. I think we were having a board meeting today, but I don't know. Were you going to say something about next week?
Everybody probably knows next week is our pledge drive event, and we have some kind of a fun thing planned. Hoping everybody is actually sick and not in the hospital and shows up. But we hope everybody will be here, and we'll have some nice food and just our annual fun afternoon.
I think there's an event right after services was it at the Tatler? There was a brunch or something. I think that's where some people might be as well. I think it was an announcement. So I have to look.
So our closing words today. Let us go forth into the world knowing that we, each of us, is a healer, that our spirits and souls can be healed, and that our journey takes time and patience. Remember you are blessed, remember you are a blessing, and above all else, remember you are not alone. You are never alone. Blessed be, so be it. And let the church say, amen. And now let us extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are get together again.
church say amen. Let the church